Hello YouTube, it's Tony. So today I'll be doing my first ever Q&A video on this channel. First of all, I'd like to announce the winners of this giveaway, which asked several questions leading up to this Q&A. Luckily though, every winner in this comment had their Runescape name, so there's no need to verify. Pretty much just message me in game and I'll double check if it matches your username, and that way you can claim your prize. So I'm going to be getting to the Q&A format. I did receive a lot of duplicate questions, so I decided to place them in a collage of comments all in one slide. So it did take me a long time to organize every question and category. So here are the table of contents. So we'll start off with the real life questions, then followed by the RuneScape questions, then finally the YouTube questions, which also include future content plans. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I'll talk about are the basic real life questions. Currently right now I'm 22 and I live in Canada. Yeah, I know the weather's really cold, but it can get very hot in the summer. As for my education, I graduated from college as a software developer last year. So the main reason why I went to software development was because I didn't know it was going to be my career path back in high school. Like, I really love gaming, so that was why I took software development as well as programming. Unfortunately though, I did struggle to get a job in software development. Unfortunately though, it was really hard to get into software development. So as of right now, my current job is a full-time pharmacy assistant, which is basically behind the scenes. In that case, I don't need to interact with customers. As for my life goals, I don't really know what it is at this moment, but I guess I want to try to get stable income. Like, for anyone who's under 18 watching this, transitioning to an adult just isn't easy. I'm being very honest, I do want to make YouTube a full-time job, but in reality I doubt it will happen anytime soon. Yeah, I know there's still a lot of room for improvement, and right now it doesn't even pay me enough to live. It's especially worse because RuneScape 3's population just isn't as high as old school RuneScape, although I do still get some money, so it's quite a motivation anyways. So here are my hobbies. I don't really honestly do any hobbies aside from RuneScape and YouTube. Like, I generally stick with one hobby and just grind it out to the max. Both hobbies I do are really time consuming, as well as the fact that I have a full-time job. So with that being said, I don't really intend to quit RuneScape. I mean, what else can I be doing if I wasn't playing RuneScape? If I were to choose something else, I wouldn't really know, to be honest. I think as a whole, hobbies related to being on the computer has stuck to me for a really long time. So what other games have I played or do I play? While I'm a gamer, I do not plan to play other games. Like, I've played a couple of other games like MapleStory and some Facebook games, as well as PS2 games I used to play. As for Pre-EoC, yeah, I used to play quite a lot in the day and even collected golden Pokemon. The problem was this game had no incentive other than trading rare Pokemon for other rare Pokemon basically. In MapleStory though, I did play it for quite a long time, but the reason I quit was because the MTX was worse than RuneScape. I'm pretty sure I ended up spending over $500 in real life cash, whereas in RuneScape, I spent next to nothing basically. So yes, the reason I really liked RuneScape in the first place was because this was my favorite RPG game growing up. Like, I never had money to spend on any other game systems. RuneScape was very simple in terms of its gameplay, as well as being a browser game. So the last heading before I get into the next section are the other real life questions. Do you plan to travel anytime soon? I mean, I don't plan to travel, but I guess United Kingdom would be a good choice. So for my favorite food, it's mostly rice because I'm Asian. If I had a choice between chicken tenders or nuggets, I would say chicken tenders. So how did you get your favorite color? And why? Well, my favorite color is gold because it has a really shiny bright color. And plus, staring at it makes me not worry too much about money. So what's your opinion on leather clothing? Well, I'd say it's meh. I don't really have much of an opinion on this. I don't personally wear it myself, but if I were to wear it, I wouldn't mind. Do you have a favorite music choice you listen to? I actually do not, and I'm being very honest. I mostly stay quiet, although once in a while I do sometimes bandwagon the most popular songs. Patriots or Eagles, who would win in the Super Bowl? For disclaimer, I do not watch football, but I would say the Patriots because how great Tom Brady was. Finally, let's get into the RuneScape related questions. So I'll start off with the RuneScape profile questions. Now, I currently only play on main account, but hopefully an Iron Man soon. At this moment, I have 18 skilling pets, 5 combat pets, and 0 boss pets. I do, however, have a boss pet on my Iron Man account, which was the Dagonoth Rex at 28 kill count. As for my bank, how much is it worth? Well, it's worth around 2.5 bill in tradables, and I might actually do a full bank video if I do get rich enough. What's your favorite money making method and where do you get most of your money? Well, most of it is coming from Slayer as well as camping Firewatch, as it's really nice GP per hour without even sacrificing too much XP per hour. So how did you get so many chimes for the Bone Crusher upgrade? Well, I got them from hunting Ornitotals, and trust me, they're really amazing. So what's your favorite mini game? The obvious answer to this is Barbarian Assault, because it gives you really great bonus XP in agility and mining. Like trust me, it's a very underrated minigame, and I think more people should play this game. So what's your favorite quest? Well, my favorite quest would be Plague's End because it unlocks the best content. In terms of favorite Slayer task, I would say it's Erits, because they give you really great combat XP and Slayer XP, as well as profit actually. What's your favorite skilling outfit? Well, my favorite skilling outfit is the Rune Ethereal outfit, because it looks really flashy. What about skill cape? Do you have any favorite skill cape? Well, to be honest, I don't have a favorite skill cape, but I'd say Summoning, because it's untrimmed. Well, the reason I never took this off was because, well, many players will eventually max, and some will even get comp cape, so essentially it makes me stand out, and it's quite special to me. You know, when you go to the max guild, you'll see almost everyone with a master cape, or a max cape, or even comp cape, or maybe even trim comp cape. And finally, the last question is, what title would you get if you had a custom title? I would say King of the Skillers because skilling is my true passion, which I'll get into the next section. What is your ultimate favorite activity in RuneScape? Well, first, I would say skilling, and the other one would be killing mobs in a bunch because they give you fast XP. Well, I'll tell you the second one first, and I used to play MapleStory because you had to kill monsters in bunches just to level up fast. For skilling, it's been truly my passion in RuneScape. I mean, back in the day, as a free-to-play player, the only things you can really do was skilling and even killing weak mobs. With that being said, that was how much I got used to skilling. I know it was a huge grind, but I really enjoyed every moment of it. I really love looking at the stats too. Eventually, I also transitioned to return to this game, and I pretty much picked up where I left off. At the lower levels, you couldn't get into bossing, so that was another reason why I got into skilling. And yeah, pretty much I just made this the most enjoyable activity, and the rest is history. I mean, if I never liked skilling, would this channel ever exist? Maybe not, but you never know. So what is your favorite skill because of this? Well, my favorite skill is Hunter, because this skill is very fast and decent profit, as well as it was really easy to get ranks. I mean, not many people like this skill for some reason. As for my least favorite, I'd say it's crafting, because not only is it very expensive, but it also requires a high upfront cost, so you couldn't craft all the items at once. It was even difficult to find a buyer for alching the items. So the next heading is, how did I get into RuneScape, and when did you start? I wasn't surprised that a lot of people asked this question. So anyways, back in 2006, one of my real life friends from middle school, named Andy, introduced me to this game. So Andy would go on to tell me how great this game was, and even how adventurous it was. Now I never signed up until the middle of summer, and when I did, I explored for a few minutes and absolutely no clue what it looked like. So what ended up happening was, I had to call him on the phone and let him know I started playing RuneScape, and afterwards he invited me to his house to help me complete Tutorial Island. I pretty much had no clue what the hell was a bronze dagger, so that was why I needed his help. So the next day I went to explore around the Lumbridge Castle killing rats, and I pretty much walked in a huge circle without knowing. So here are my pre-EoC progress questions. My lows were, well, I got hacked multiple times on multiple accounts and ended up quitting for almost 2 years. Back in the day there weren't too many highs, because like I said, I was mostly free-to-play player. In 2007 though, I did create an account called Puretppc. The way it worked was because I randomly came up with this name because I was mocking my friend naming him Pure every time, and TPPC was also the other game I played. So that was why I named it and combined them both basically. Anyways, I do have a full video on this and I'll leave that link in the description. Eventually though, I did use this name for pretty much everything, including my YouTube channel. So what is your most memorable moment in RuneScape? Well, that would be finding a rune scimitar in the party room in Falador. Yeah, this was my very first rune weapon I ever got on this account. What about the noobiest moment? Well, I wouldn't say there was a lot of noobiest moments because I was a noob as a whole back then, but the most highlighted one was when I thought selling items to a shop was actually better than selling to players, which was exactly why I was so poor back in the day. Meanwhile, Andy would go on to buy 2 months of membership and tell me how much stuff I was missing out on. Like, it was a very memorable moment because there was so much member content that I didn't even know about. And yeah, the RuneScape Wikipedia just isn't as clear as back in the day as what it looks like today. Finally, when the Grand Exchange was released, it was when things really started changing and I started making my money. Like, back in the day, I just didn't want to spam the bank and just say selling item X for how much GP, right? So anyways, the next question is, what is your biggest fail? My biggest fail was I used to say hi to everyone I came across, and then I would ask them if they want to be friends or not. Now every time I added them and they logged in, I would say hi the very second they did so. The reason being was because back in free-to-play, there was an area where it had a lot of people in it. And another reason was because I had no real-life friends who played RuneScape. I believe Andy was quitting at that time, and then again, most of my added friends were also offline. I guess even back in the day, free-to-play was very boring, but I found it really fun as a whole. Of course, I probably wouldn't go back to those days, but yeah, they were very nostalgic. Other than that though, there weren't really a lot of major failures in RuneScape pre-EoC, but the moment of saying hi to everyone and asking to add them as a friend, just the very moment of that, and even saying hi to them every time they logged in through private messages, that felt very, very awkward, to be honest. So the next section is the post-EoC progress. I returned to this game in 2014, and why did I choose RS3 instead of OSRS? I'll explain why later on in the content section. What was your biggest scam you fell for? Well, the biggest scam I ever fell for occurred 3 months after I returned to this game. So there was this person that was advertising his RuneScape YouTube giveaway in the Grand Exchange, and it linked to what appeared to be the RuneScape forums. It turned out to be a phishing link, and I lost 20 mil as well as a dragon pickaxe, but afterwards it wasn't too hard to recover. I mean, I was even donated 5 mil from one of my friends, but I eventually gave it back to her 3 days later. So for my first 99, that would be untrimmed summoning cape, and I still have that today, like I said. Originally I wanted to get all 98s and then max all at once. To be fair though, it really held me back from playing efficiently. Before I got my first 99, I had around 2.4k total level. So when did you max? Well, I maxed in June 2015, only less than a year after I returned to this game. Yeah, I do have a max cape party and I'll leave that link in the description. For my biggest achievement, well, that would be getting comp cape around 5 months later. And once again, I do have a full comp cape party and I'll leave that link in the description. So the reason why it was the biggest achievement so far was because it felt really stressful getting the requirements, especially being left out on boss teams. I mean, back in the day, I didn't really have many high-level friends that could help me out. And of course, I'm not a very good pre-VMer, so that doesn't really help my case. How much time have you accumulated total? Well, that would be 348 days and 16 hours on this account. So what keeps me motivated? Well, RuneScape was the only game I enjoyed playing as a whole. Like, other games were great, but this one was the best in my opinion. I didn't really like the FPS games, and I didn't want to buy any game systems. Despite all the ups and downs, I just never gave up. Like, I always had the grit and patience, and I just enjoyed the grind as a whole. And do you ever regret playing this game? I don't really regret playing this game, but I have felt burnt out recently. First of all, the reason being is because I got a full-time job, so I get fewer hours to play. And then again, I'm also more focused on YouTube rather than in-game. So what stopped me from grinding like I used to? Well, the MTX promotions kept getting out of hand, and people who bought keys could easily beat me to get a skill faster. So yes, essentially there was no way I was going to catch up to the ranks, because they're basically meaningless pretty much in this world. And would I ever buy keys? Well, I probably wouldn't, because it takes the joy out of skilling. I'm still very efficient in terms of time spent playing though. The only thing is I just haven't been logging in as much as I used to. So how many hours do you play on RuneScape a day? I used to average around 10 plus hours of RuneScape every day. But nowadays, I couldn't even pull in 3 hours because of a full-time job. And again, I mostly go on RuneScape to record videos. So the RuneScape goals. What goals do you have for 2018? Well, my primary goal would be getting 5.4 bill XP on the main account. I want to finally get it after all these years of grinding. I'm not really sure whether I'll be going for trim comp cape, let alone true trim. Like, I haven't comped for a year because of all these stupid updates. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just that I wasn't up for a task, so I made a protest to just hang up my comp cape in my house. After getting 5.4 bill XP, I want to get into my Iron Man series. At this moment, I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing on my main account after 5.4 bill XP. I will still try to make guides, however. So the last question in this section are, what are your double XP weekend plans? I would say construction and crafting as much as possible. Now, I will do a full video on this just 1 week before that double XP weekend. Finally, in the RuneScape section, what are the game updates you're looking forward to? To be very, very honest, I'm not highly anticipating for game updates at this point. For the last year, most of us haven't gotten what Jagex has fully promised. Like, I lost hype for pretty much everything, basically. If I could say something though, that would be a lot of ninja fixes to code, so that way it would ease the stress of new updates getting bugged. Now for fixing content, it can really reduce the mistakes for future content. You can tell that several new content has had a lot of game-breaking bugs at this point. If I were to have a favorite real game update for this year, that would be offhand skilling items, as well as the mining and skilling rework. Now this leads me to the next question. What other skill reworks would you want? I would say agility would be really nice, to be honest. Now the reason being is that agility is very slow unless you're buying Silverhawk feathers, and I don't even think this skill is even that useful anyways in today's game. What's your opinion on 4-tick auto attack? I do not actually have an opinion on 4-tick auto attack. The reason being is that I don't really do it personally, and I'm not against it in any way. So yeah, whether it happens or not, I won't be upset or happy. What's the future of RuneScape gonna look like in, let's say, 2 to 5 years? I'm very unsure of what it's gonna look like. I hope JMods sort things out and figure out a plan on how to schedule their updates and fixes. At this moment though, things really look like they're not going uphill. It wouldn't really surprise me if RS3 is going downhill in terms of population. Personally, I would play for at least a couple more years, because I am quite a loyal customer here. Not that I spend money, but I've been subscribed to RuneScape for a really long time. So the next big section is YouTube. So the first question is, why did you start YouTube and what inspired you? Back in the day when I was playing MapleStory, I was making tutorial guides just like RuneScape. They were all text guides, so I eventually transferred that to YouTube, but at first I didn't do commentary guides. Pretty much back in the day, the gaming commentary wasn't as common as what it's like today. So then when I finally returned to RuneScape, I wanted to try and learn this game and teach back what I learned. So inspired by a really big YouTuber named Munselzunky, I watched him in my very early days. I was starting to think of making my own video guides early on, but of course I didn't take full commitment until the middle of 2015. What was really holding me back was that I just didn't have enough knowledge towards this game, and eventually when Munselzunky quit, I was determined to make this a passion, something that I really wanted to do for a long time. So yeah, it was very difficult at first because I didn't really have many ideas. Like I used to keep grinding RuneScape instead, so that was also another reason why I wasn't into YouTube as much. What's the motivation for you being as a YouTuber? Well, like I said, I want to teach people how things are done in RuneScape, and I want to inspire people to enjoy every piece of content, aside from bossing. So with that being said, little did I know I'd end up in this position. Like I never really gave up on this completely. Yeah, I've gone through tough times and breaks, but I never fully quit YouTube. So what's your favorite thing about being a content creator? Well, my favorite thing is that I can really try to develop new life skills and enhance my teaching skills or even video editing skills. Another reason is because YouTube is the only thing that I can associate with gaming, which I'm really good at. I remember trying software engineering, but I just wasn't up for that task. I could have easily been a game developer, but I'm really terrible with graphics, as well as being somewhat of a lazy programmer. Of course, last but not least, I did lose my interest in programming in the middle of college. So the next section is the YouTube development. To start off with the first question, how long does it take to make the videos? Well, it generally takes around 10 to 15 hours of total time spent, and I did this over the course of 2 to 3 days. Usually I do the smaller projects first, because that way it would reduce the bottlenecking of videos. Sometimes I would try to do one thing for an incredibly long time, and it gets pretty tedious. With that being said, I may not be 100% productive, so I do need a refresher. It's kind of like in school why teachers taught us sometimes it's better to proofread your essay the next day as opposed to the same day you wrote it. I think the logic is because you assume too much of it is correct. So what software do you use for video editing? Well, first I use Bandicam for recording, second I use Audacity for audio cuts, and finally I use Sony Vegas for the final edits and putting everything together. On the side I also use Photoshop for thumbnails. So what do your steps for developing videos look like? Well, I'm going to be very basic with this, and I'm going to keep it really simple. Another question that leads me to this is, where do you get your ideas? 3 ways, either self-discovery, Reddit, or even people suggesting it. So first, I start off with the pre-writing of the ideas. Secondly, I do the test of in-game footage, and I just jot down the best results. Now I do proofread it to make sure it flows and the information is correct. After that, I use Photoshop to create any enhancements. So yeah, when I record the audio, I just edit and cut out any bad sentences. The final step is just adding enhancements to the video and then editing using Sony Vegas. And then finally, we can now upload the video. So why do you choose your style of explaining things in a certain way? Well, the most important reason is I want to keep my information as perfect as possible. And do you read off scripts? Well, I'm not really reading off scripts, but I guess the way I sound can be different than, let's say, a real conversation. So what are your hardest uploads and your easiest uploads? Well, my hardest uploads would be the 1 to 99 guides, because it requires a lot of research on the updated methods, and I don't even have a lower level account to test these. What about the easiest uploads? I would say the non-combat Slayer guides, because I don't need to be on task to test them, and it can be done anytime I want, as well as the sample size is pretty consistent. What upload did you enjoy the most, and what upload did you enjoy the least? For the most enjoyed one, I would say it's the Double XP Weekend Guide, because it helped people walk through on how to train skills fast and efficient. Then for the least enjoyed, I would say it's the loot videos that had terrible loot, just like the Tortured Souls. So with that being said, it just shows how some content in this game is completely underwhelming, despite its requirements. So let's get into the content selection section. Will you be doing a stream, and what about face reveal? I do not have plans for a face reveal, but definitely I want to consider streaming at some point. Now I want to make it worthwhile for people to watch, cause rarely do you ever see skillers streaming themselves. I mean, mostly you'll be seeing people doing bossing such as Telos. Sometimes when I'm typing, my microphone picks up the noise pretty loudly too. Hopefully though, I will probably stream myself, maybe during XP weekend, but we'll see how my internet speed goes. The next section, and the most talked about section, is bossing content. In fact, I couldn't even fit all of these comments in one collage. So will I ever do bossing at some point, or even a boss series? Well, it really depends, but I currently do not have plans at this moment. First reason is because I'm not a good PVMer to begin with, and PVMing just isn't something I found the most enjoyable activity. Like I said, when I first started RuneScape, I was mostly a free-to-play player for most of pre-EoC, and the only thing I could really do for free-to-play is just skilling and killing some hill giants. So yes, that was when it all started, because I never got to see most of it. So after I came back to this game in post-EoC, I was mostly focusing towards money making towards a bond, and pretty much, I just never had the true ambition to kill bosses. Yeah, my former clanmates invited me to a Zamorak God Wars Dungeon 1 boss, and it was quite fun. Instead though, I would have preferred to actually grind out my skills. For future plans, I hope to be doing an Iron Man series, which will cover a lot of bossing content hopefully. Of course, then again, I want to get used to knowing the item switches and the specific ability rotations, and I'll be rolling them out as well. For some reason, whenever I look at a bossing inventory setup, half of the items I don't even understand. Last but not least, I hope this will be my final evolution in my voice and presentation delivery when I make the boss guides. So yes, with that being said, I want to save the best for when I'm better. Like, bossing requires a lot of attention to detail. Another highly suggested topic are progress videos. Will you be doing them at some point? Well, I was actually thinking of doing these videos, but this channel is mostly guide focused. Your best bet would be the Iron Man series, and this is set to make a return this year. I'm not sure because my time management skills aren't really that great, and I don't have much free time in general. Pretty much most of my time is spent on making guides, which is quite time consuming. I actually have tried doing progress videos in the past, but none of them got more than 2,000 views sadly. Yeah, I know 2,000 views is pretty decent, but considering my other videos never passed it, the progress videos may not be any value to this channel. Like, I really want to bring some serviceable value to my viewers in this channel, and I want to make it so that it's worth your viewing time to watch these, you know? However, since you asked, this is potentially coming back to my channel, and I'm really looking forward to doing the Iron Man series, as well as having the fastest max cape account, without the treasure hunter keys of course. Then again, I may also add in other progress videos, but I'm not really sure at this point. As for the main account progress, I'm not sure how it's going to look like, but I'll definitely be rolling out some XP weekend progress videos. I might even do some skilling week, 1 week of skilling, just like somebody suggested that before. So for old school RuneScape content, I'm surprised I got asked this several times. Will you be doing old school RuneScape content? Unfortunately, no, and I'll explain exactly why. First of all, RuneScape 3 and OSRS just don't get along very well in terms of the communities. I also would really love to keep this a RuneScape 3 exclusive channel, because I mean many RuneScape 3 YouTubers tend to move on to OSRS. Now, I don't have anything against OSRS and even their YouTubers. I think as a game it's pretty nice, and the developers seem to be getting their updates faster and more efficiently despite having a smaller development team. Now the reason I prefer RS3 is because I'm adapted to the modern gameplay. Yeah, OSRS just doesn't feel nostalgic, especially with all the new exclusive add-ons. None of which I said is a bad game, it's just that I prefer sticking to RS3. However, I may go into OSRS, but if I were to do that, I would definitely announce this in advance and create a new channel dedicated for OSRS content. As of right now, I just want to play as much RS3 content as possible before I get into OSRS. So yes, here are the other content suggestions that I didn't categorize. I actually read every suggestion, and to be honest, some ideas can happen while others cannot. I try to keep content with what's within my expertise in RuneScape as a first priority. Like, I want to keep information as perfect and precise as possible. I'm not really sure what promises I can make for the entire section. Either way, feel free to check my year in review for 2017, and that way you can see my content goals. But yeah, I'll leave that link in the description. In the last section of this Q&A, other RuneScape and YouTube related questions. So are you going to be going to RuneFest? I might go to RuneFest for the first time ever, but we'll see how my schedule works. Like I really want to give this a try and I haven't traveled to any country for a long time. Do you watch YouTubers as a whole or do you watch RuneScape YouTubers only? At this moment, I don't watch other games on YouTube. I do, however, watch other RuneScape YouTubers, but I won't be telling you which ones are my favorite ones in particular because it's going to cause a lot of drama, and again, it would also cause a popularity contest. Will you collab with other RuneScape YouTubers? I would love to do a collaboration video with other RuneScape YouTubers, but most of my activities are skilling oriented. Also, most of the collaborations do bossing, so if I do get into bossing, then that's a possibility. So what's my PC build? Well, it's mainly a GTX 960 as well as an i5 6400. Yeah, I haven't upgraded my parts in a long time, which I believe I built this PC a little over a year ago. Now I will leave a full build link in the description. Do you listen to any music in RuneScape? No, I don't really listen to music in RuneScape because I mostly mute my sounds. Second last question, do you have any tips on how to be a YouTuber? Just start with the easier ideas first before getting to the harder projects and the bigger projects. Even with the easy videos, if you don't get big, you still have a chance to improve. You also want to plan out what videos you want to do. Now I might try to make a video guide on how to be a RuneScape YouTuber. Last but not least, did RuneScape teach you anything? I would say in middle school we had a lesson on Vikings, and they pretty much blacksmithed their bronze swords just like RuneScape. So yeah, RS did give me understanding on how the process of metal weaponry works. Nowadays, it's all about the patience and the grit of playing RuneScape because of how the game is designed. So yes, it taught me a lot on how to be patient and just wait until things come to your way eventually. Like try not to expect the results right away. With that being said, everything takes time, so don't try to complain until you've tried enough of it. The most common and the absolute most common mistake new and returning players make is they just want to get into bossing as soon as possible. The other worst part is that they tend to ignore overloads, soul split, and stuff like that really help you unlock the cool things. So in general, just put things into investment as a whole. For example, back when I first started YouTube, little did I know I'd be in this position. Yeah, I might be inferior to other RuneScape YouTubers you watch, but did I give up on this? Well, no, because I kept grinding and grinding. So before I conclude this, I'm going to be talking about what I didn't answer. Firstly, I didn't answer any questions that were too inappropriate or too personal, as I want to keep this professional. I also didn't answer anything I didn't know an answer to it. And finally, any solid game mechanics, well, I can answer this in another thread. So in conclusion, that wraps up my entire Q&A video. Yeah, it was very long and I talk quite fast, and you might have even gotten bored from it. Either way, it was nice to be more interactive with the audience. So yeah, thanks for watching and I hope it answers most of your questions.